Hey guys, so for those who are new to this channel or are coming from my other channel, this is our startup that me and my roommates are doing. It's going to be kind of like an entertainment sort of shindig, whereas the start we're just going to have like podcasts and let's play, stuff like that. So that's what you can expect. This first snippet that we're putting out that you're listening to right now, this is our brainstorm that me and my one of my roommates did on a car ride down to a lake house. So I thought I'd kind of put this out there, get some feedback, just test the waters, because while it's not like the main subject of what our podcast will be doing, this is kind of in the same vein. So hopefully we can see if people, like this kind of stuff or whatever. Just keep in mind that the audio quality, since we are in a car and it's being done off my phone, is not going to be up to par. Our actual podcast will probably sound like this quality on like professional mics. So, just keep that in mind. The reason I'm putting this out here with bad mic quality is just because I thought it was funny when we were recording it. So hopefully we'll see if you guys enjoy it. So that being said, I'm going to drop you right into the middle of our conversation when I hit record on my phone. So hopefully you guys enjoy and let me know what your thoughts are. All right. See you guys later. You're gonna burn through my battery.
So we're just recording ourselves right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have that like super quiet so it doesn't pick it up.
Yeah.
But anyway, other than Big Bone Lick, how many sexual state parks can you name?
Dead Horse State Park.
That's not. You need a fucking horse. Also, I agreed. Big Bone Lick is 100% sexual, but no one in their right mind is walking around Big Bone Lick and just goes, you know what? I don't want to say this. I'm getting kind of hard.
No, you can sexualize anything. So,
Well, I believe you.
I can say, hey, want to go to the Grand Canyon? Doesn't that sound pretty sexual?
Well, it's all about context. It's when and where you're saying that. Because
you want to take a hike through my Grand?
Yeah. Well, when you add the "my," that gets...
Well, yeah, that's a little personal, I guess. That just completely ruins the context.
But if you're in your room with your girlfriend, lights are off, and you're going, "Hey, you want to go to the Grand Canyon?"
Yeah, I get that.
But if you're in a car and you're, "Hey, want to go to the Grand Canyon?" and then your girlfriend starts eating out your ass. No, not that Grand Canyon.
A girl could be like, who wants to go spelunking in Mammoth Cave?
There's no water in Mammoth. Can you dive in Mammoth Cave?
Spelunking. That's just cave diving.
Well, yeah.
That's not... Cave diving doesn't mean diving like water diving.
That's just a bad choice of words.
No. You can dive off a building and there's no water below it.
That's true. I can dive to my death.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be diving in water. So yeah, you can go cave diving in, your girlfriend's Mammoth Cave.
Okay. If my girlfriend has a Mammoth Cave, I want to know who else she's been fucking, because it ain't me.
Yeah, that's probably
also,
true.
there's no way in hell you can refer to your girlfriend as the Mammoth Cave and still be dating her and still date her by the end of that sentence.
Depends on how many kids she's had.
Jesus.
I don't know. What other parks?
Well, no. The moral of the story is we're not naming the podcast Big Bone Lick.
Well, yeah, don't name it Big Bone Lick, but maybe the Big Bone Lick podcast.
If this audio recording ever gets released, what's happening is you join in the middle of a conversation where we're deciding what to name the podcast.
It's going quite well.
It's going, and that's all I can say.
Oh man, what else can we name a podcast after?
Well, we could just call it North South.
North South, and everything in between. If you know what I mean.
That's too many.
Okay.
Imagine seeing that in the podcast list. You have to fucking scroll to see the title.
Oh yeah, that'd be a lot. Yeah, just north, south.
I guess, I don't know. We're spitballing out here.
How about, well, we don't even know if Dakota will be available for...
Well, that's going to be my next question is, do we do a podcast, do we record one once a week? So, like, release a podcast every week? Or do we just bang them out as much as humanly possible and say, fuck a schedule, we're throwing this shit out here?
I say, see, I want to have a schedule. Like, the best thing to do would be, like, either once a week or go, like, all out and do, like, every weekday. But I don't know if I'll be available to record a podcast every weekday. But we could record, like, 2 on, like, one Saturday afternoon.
Well, yeah, like,
and then release it later.
Yeah, if we set a date in advance to say we release a podcast every Monday, that means Monday through Saturday, essentially, we have all those days available to get a podcast recorded.
Yeah. We could start out doing one a week.
Also, back on the title, Brain Blast.
Brain Blast, let's call it that.
We could. That's Jimmy Neutron.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh. Don't say that. That will definitely get caught.
I'm thinking something like, we can do, call it, here's the thing about that, or we can call it, here's the spiel. I don't know, something that's like...
Now here's the thing.
Exactly, something that's like the start of a sentence.
Yeah.
Before you get into a big discussion.
I like that. Now here's the thing. I like that. Now here's the thing. What's another one? No.
Yeah. Wait, I'm not gonna... No, comma, no, the podcast. Or we can do, well, you see here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Good Evening, Ladies and Gentlemen podcast.
No, just call the podcast Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Welcome Podcast.
I like that. Yeah, let's just call it like Welcome or Hello or...
Well, I'm pretty sure podcast names have to be unique. Like, there can be nothing else in the system that's also named that. I think. I don't know, actually. I don't know if 2 podcast groups can have the same.
It depends if they copy you.
Well, yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's all that matters. I mean, from my business law class, I've learned that they have to copyright it to have rights to it, obviously. They can argue it in court that they can say, oh, well, we came up with that, but if they didn't copyright it, the judge will say, fuck out of here. All right. So back to the podcast without politics.
I think so far our best bet or sounding option is definitely something where we name it like the start of a sentence. So like
it's Skyline time.
No,
that'd probably get
that is copyrighted.
Yeah.
So you go like, well, you see here. Something along the lines of that. I think.
How about no? I'm loving it.
Just call it Ba-da-ba McDonald's Podcast. Hashtag not sponsored. We can call it the not sponsored podcast. Because there's no way in hell we're ever getting a sponsor.
What if we do?
Hi everybody, welcome to the not sponsored podcast. This week we are sponsored by... Actually, no, that is great. We should 100% do that.
It's hilarious. Oh shit, I like that. Oh
right,
god.
So right now the working title is not sponsored.
The not sponsored podcast.
Be sure to check weekly for your not sponsored podcast. Use code not sponsored at checkout.
Oh my gosh. I just love that. Welcome to the not sponsored podcast. This week we're sponsored.
Well, there's two sides of that of that coin that make it hilarious. One, if we do well enough, we get sponsored. Great, the name's hilarious. Two, if we don't get sponsored, then the name's just really dark and depressing, and it's still hilarious.
That's true. Oh my god.
welcome to the non-sponsored podcast. This week we're sponsored by no one because fuck it. Well, there's no hope for us.
Oh my god. I actually really like this now that I'm thinking about it. Honestly, like...
oh, fuck it. Why even bother? We're not getting sponsored. We're 100 episodes in. We don't have a single fucking sponsor. Just walk out of the room.
Oh god. I like that. I think that should be it.
All right.
But the thing is, if we're trying to expand this just out of like one podcast to like a whole like network in a way, like you know, we're a company in quotes and we have our different shows, then like would our company in quotes be called not sponsored?
No, I don't. I think at that point
well, I guess okay, so actually, yeah, we don't have to worry about that right now because
when we're big, we'll worry about that.
Yeah. When we have at least 50
employees.
Listeners. Yeah. No listeners.
Oh, listeners. Okay. I'll get my mom. I'll get my grandma. I'll tell my grandma to tell her book club. I have
like 25 people in my family, my dad's side.
We can swing this in our favor.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, so we're just naming this one podcast right now. That's kind of what, shout out to Kind of Funny and those guys.
Shout out, we know they really need it.
Shout out to them for giving me the...
If you're not subscribed to their podcast, do it already. They could really use the help.
Well, okay, so anyways, they started out they were working at IGN, and they just started the Game Over Greggy show. And then from that, they started Kind of Funny when they left IGN. So yeah, we'll do the same thing. We'll have the sponsored podcast.
We'll do the same thing. We'll copy with it.
And then I'll leave my job, and then we'll make a real company.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I like that.
And then we'll all resort to doing blow on the kitchen table when we run out of options.
No. I don't do drugs. Only alcohol.
Only alcohol.
Is that a drug?
It is.
Yeah.
100%, 1,000% is.
There we go. I do one and a half.
I do one drug.
So not sponsored.
Yes.
All right, I like that.
This week's sponsored by Loot Crate and MeUndies.
Just kidding. He's kidding. We're not sponsored by them.
Bleep that me.
Obviously.
Future me.
Well, wait, we don't even have to say like we're not actually sponsored after you say we are sponsored, even though we're not, because our title says so.
Okay, my head hurts now. What? Bring that back.
So, okay, so you know how you said jokingly, sponsored by Loot Crate and MeUndies?
MeUndies, please.
My bad, I knew that. They sponsor,
Let's get the right, wrong sponsor.
Guys. Yeah, no, but you said that, and then I said, no, he's just kidding, guys. I didn't have to say that, because our name is the Not Sponsored Podcast, so that automatically cancels out the sponsor that we have. So companies can sponsor us for free because we're not sponsored. Well, okay, I have an idea. When a company wants to sponsor us, we can make it the not sponsored. If we have to. If people are like, yeah, you guys legally can't be sponsored and be called the Not Sponsored Podcast, we can then make it the not sponsored podcast.
Gotcha. In every episode, it's going to be not episode 1, not episode 2, not...
Or would it be better just to make it the not sponsored podcast? Because not sponsored doesn't mean we are sponsored. It just means we're not sponsored.
My head hurts.
But I guess that would mean we are sponsored because you either are sponsored or you're not sponsored. So being the not sponsored podcast would make us not sponsored, or would make us sponsored, but we wouldn't be sponsored, so we would not be sponsored.
All I'm saying is, the way most great podcasts start is by confusing their listeners. That's how they catch on.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's how you draw in the audience.
Can you imagine we have one avid listener, he's going up to people on the street, dude, have you heard the not sponsored podcast? He goes, what the fuck did you say to me?
Oh, I'm trying to narrow
Get out of here, you cokehead.
I'm trying to narrow our target audience down to the really smart people who just followed
to the insane demographics.
Oh, or that, yeah. Either one. It's either the really smart people who followed exactly what I just said, or just the crazy ass motherfuckers out there who just...
He goes, oh, maybe this guy's on to something. He's scratching his neck. He's like, oh.
There's people smoking weed like, whoa.
Yeah.
Did you guys just hear what this guy said? That's wild, man.
And we're casting with a big fish net right now.
Yeah, so, yeah. Alright, well, I like it. Anything else we want to discuss? Maybe a different name if that one's not really...
I mean, if stuff pops... Again, we have pilots. But, I mean, at a certain point, if we get deep into it, there's no turning back.
Why don't we just look at street names on our way and then see if there's one that catches our eye?
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Stop. That's the stop sign.
I'm not naming the stop. Welcome to the Stop Podcast. We're done. Yeah, fucking next week.
We hope to see you on the Start Podcast that we have starting just after the Stop Podcast.
And then after the Start Podcast, there's the Later Podcast where we talk about what we talked about in the Start Podcast.
I like that.
I don't like that. But
all right.
Eventually, so as this whole spiel evolves, so right now this is audio on a fucking iPhone.
Yeah,
in a car.
Which is we're not doing this because we have no idea how to use electronics, and we thought that our iPhone would be the best way to record ourselves.
So if this ever sees the light of day,
it'll be it could be a special release, special Patreon tier.
How did the famous boys get their humble beginnings?
Well, they were sitting in a car one day at 10:30 at night.
Two white boys were driving to their lake house.
And we were like,
should we start a podcast?
And I was like, yes, Eric, I think we should.
I do say.
I believe that would be a great idea.
But anywho, the moral of the story is that shit will improve, like tech wise, but also we'll probably envisioning the way we currently talk when we're not recording podcasts is that we reference a lot of shit. So we'll have a computer nearby to pull up said references. Like majority of it will probably be Batman movies.
Yeah. Yep.
So those will be also cut in for the visual podcast.
Yep.
Where are we?
We're at the beginning of the driveway.
Oh, so we're waiting here for them?
Yeah.
Ah.
Or I'm gonna murder you right now and throw you in that dumpster.
Then I'm throwing my phone as the recording.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. All sounds good. What else? So it's for sure us two that are gonna be doing this podcast. And then we'll probably have one guy, our other roommate right now, he'll probably be in it like a decent amount. I don't know about every episode, but...
And then we can always swing in a guest here and there.
Yeah, and then I was thinking different guest. And it won't, we can make it it'll always be our friends. It won't be random
Just
people.
pulling people off the street. Hey!
But
you got shit you need to get off your chest, brother?
But I mean,
we always get our server from Keystone yesterday.
Oh my god!
Actually, no, he wouldn't pick up on the mic because you just talk like this.
That's true. Yeah. We don't need to go into that right now. We need to save that for content.
Yeah.
Content, man.
Also, it's completely visual and.
Yeah, I mean, I'm planning on having interesting people on there. I have a friend who's a stand-up comedian.
We're gonna have a survey that we'll take before we let you into the apartment. To judge whether you're interested, whether you're interesting enough to be on our not sponsored podcast with.
The name's really gonna attract people to our podcast.
Whoa, slow down, guy. We got a lot on the line here, okay? We're trying to get sponsors on this not sponsored podcast. We can't just have you walking in here saying whatever you want.
How about instead of getting actual sponsors, we just get CEOs of the companies that we want to sponsor us, and then if we want to be sponsored by Amazon. We call up Jeff Bezos.
Oh, just call him up.
And say, hey, Jeff, you want to come on our not sponsored podcast? And he says, yeah, sure. He's on the show.
Please.
We're not sponsored by Amazon, but we say, hey, we got Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos here.
First of all, he doesn't like to be addressed as Jeff by his friends. He likes to be called Big Bez.
Wait, really?
No!
I thought you were being serious.
No,
Holy
you
shit.
think the fucking CEO of Amazon goes, please call me Big Bez.
God, him and Antonio, man. Great
Well,
people.
that's another thing that we could have gotten into on a podcast, but thank God we didn't.
Well, I mean, we'll get into a lot. I'm sure there'll be more stuff like that.
I mean,
a lot of current event stuff.
Well, yeah,
that
the
we'll talk
the
about.
Antonio Brown story is always evolving. Just came out. Tom Brady said he disagrees with the Patriots letting him go.
Yeah. See, well, okay, so this is what we're going to have to do, though. So maybe we don't want to talk too much about sports because some people just don't give a fuck about sports.
Well, yeah, we won't go in depth, but like major happenings.
That's the problem. We're going to have to really, like, we can't just jump into this too hard. We're going to have a vision of what we want to do. Because if we go into a podcast not really knowing, we're just going to talk about random shit. I mean, people do that and get a lot of viewers, but sometimes, like, it doesn't always work unless you're, like, really fucking funny or already have a base.
Well, here's the thing. We need feedback so that way we can determine what our target audience is, and that way we can better hone what we talk about to...
Right. Oh, no, I know, but...
To pander.
We only get feedback if we have viewers, and we only have viewers if we have people that want to listen to our content, so we have to craft what our content's going to be. So we may want to talk about sports, but then maybe we need a separate podcast for sports. You know what I mean? So maybe we have a general podcast where we just, like, we do kind of talk about anything, you know, we just talk about what we want to talk about, be funny, because we're not that funny, but try to be funny.
Well, I was going to say, so far, the gist of our podcast is comedy. I don't think we have a topic.
Right.
We fucking talked about sexualizing national state parks. There's not an audience for that. That's just humor.
No, I know, that's what I mean. So, like, yeah. So we don't want to dive too much into a specific topic.
Well, yeah,
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Because then people can get bored that way.
Yeah.
So, but if we do want to dive into specific topics, then maybe have, like, either a special, like, for a show for that week. So, like, we normally do one show a week, but then, like, some shit happens, like the Antonio Brown stuff. Maybe we say, oh, we're having a special podcast just talking about
Either a special podcast or a special segment of the podcast. Just dedicate 30 minutes or 20 minutes to do whatever.
I don't mean a separate, like, special podcast. I mean, like, just a separate episode.
Yeah.
That week.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so it would be like a separate segment, but just release it separately or whatever.
Long story
like bonus
short.
Episode.
Long story short, Antonio dispenses fluids on the back of his personal trainer, and that is so not cash money.
That's not very polite, honestly. Like, would I be upset if Antonio Brown did that to me? No.
Well, I mean...
But...
But
I guess it does make some people upset when he does that.
When he does, as he so often does. Oh, that Antonio Brown, that rapscallion.
I mean...
Did you hear what he did? Did you hear what his doctor said?
No.
His doctor said Antonio would get up and fart in his face whenever he could.
Oh my god.
This dude is just an asshole through and through.
I get it. You connected the farting with the asshole.
Yes, I did that with my big brain.
Holy shit.
So here's what, ever since he got released from sports stuff now. Ever since he got released from the Patriots, is he still being investigated? Is that an ongoing thing still? Because I haven't heard anything from the story.
So he's not being investigated, but because what got brought up against him goes to civil court. So it was a tort. It wasn't. Oh, now I'm getting into law stuff. Sorry, my insurance side's coming out. It was a tort, which is it's not a criminal offense. So
I feel like what he did was pretty criminal, if I'm gonna be honest.
Well, that's just not like they could file, so it's not up to her now to file a criminal case against him. Now it would be like, so prosecutors try to gather information and see if they have enough to take it to criminal court, but they don't have enough because she never filed a police report or anything, so it's not documented or anything. So now it's just her word against his, which goes to civil court, where she's trying to get payment for damages.
So even if it comes through as he's guilty,
damages.
which he definitely is, he even if worst case scenario he only pays money, he doesn't go to jail.
Yeah, worst case scenario, unless somehow prosecutors can find enough info on him and decide, okay, we're gonna take this to criminal court.
I will say this, though. He's not good at English. Not even kind of.
No. Not writing it, at least. He can speak.
I'm sure he can
A little bit.
speak, but yeah.
A little bit, but writing he does struggle with. He probably writes at, what would you say, a 4-year-old level?
No.
I think he can use, I'd say, 12-year-old words, because he does know some, like, pretty bad words. His grammar is the...
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's infuriating.
I would say it has to be worse than a first grader's, right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe, like...
Or at the same level.
I'd say, I'd say, like, 2 weeks into kindergarten. Like, you're just kind of learning a little bit, but you still don't really know where a period goes.
Let's get the Vegas odds on what his writing level's at.
My God.
We got 100 to 1 on the kindergarten Vegas.
Are you smarter than a first grader? Antonio Brown edition.
We can answer that now. No.
Oh my God, I would love to quiz him on basic first grade knowledge. Oh my God, this is great.
I don't think he'd do well.
Can we make this a podcast? Welcome back to Antonio Brown is a Dumbass.
The alleged sexual assault podcast.
We have Antonio Brown here. Antonio, you feeling any better?
Yo, fuck you! Whoa, Antonio, calm down, dude. That is so not cash money of you.
So did you happen to get through that, what is it, magical treehouse book we gave you last week?
Yo, you was at your mama's house with your mama. Well, no shit, Antonio.
We don't even know what that means, but...
The definition of my mama's house would imply that my mama is in fact there. So you'd be correct in saying, I was at my mama's house with my mama.
But what we really want to know about is the magical treehouse book. What was it? Which one did you read? The Egyptian one?
The one with the pictures.
The one with the pictures of the mummies and shit.
Well, that one that had that fine-ass bitch on the cover.
That would be Cleopatra. Oh, no, wait. On the cover?
Yeah.
That's the 6-year-old kid.
No. FBI, open up! And that's how the podcast ends.
Oh, God. That sounds great, honestly. Wow.
God damn.
We got some good ideas. That's all we're saying.
We do.
Oh, well, okay. So what we're doing right now...
Well, we're gonna have to end this soon because we got to save this shit in case this ever sees the light of day.
True.
Or the internet.
But I like what we did right there. We kind of came up with a podcast within our podcast and kind of made...
Podception.
Oh my God, yes! That might be our new name, ladies and gentlemen. We might just come up with different podcast ideas inside our own podcast.
So let me get this straight.
Podception, that's awesome.
Our podcast content is talking about podcasts that we will never make.
We'll see if any of you one day will end up making it. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a really fucking good idea. See, that gives our thing, like, we can talk about whatever we want, but it gives it some structure too. Like, we're gonna talk about podcasts we would make that we won't actually ever make.
It's a hypothetical podcast.
Yeah, but we get to talk about whatever we want, and it gets to be somewhat funny.
I like it.
All right. I think that might be what we go with. I guess it'll be interesting if we ever release this. Our listeners will get to see the moment that we came up with our actual idea. Because we've gone through, like, multiple ideas. They'll be like, that's not it. When are they going to say it?
These shitheads weren't anywhere close.
And we're going to get to it, like... Podception, and all our listeners are gonna go, yeah, that's it! Oh my gosh, this is what had happened!
It's gonna rival the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It all connects, baby.
Well, no. With
Pod CU.
With our podcast, PCU, please.
Okay. Yeah.
With our podcast being called Podception, the beginning of this test podcast is still in line with Podception. because we're
True.
just talking about what our podcast would be
Oh.
in a podcast.
Oh my god!
This actually is Inception levels of in podcast, and
Holy
we're time
shit.
traveling to.
That's crazy. All right, well, welcome back to our podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So what we did right there was talk about the podcast that we were going to make inside our podcast that we made inside a podcast. Now we're back to our other podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Podception.
If you're the one person who's been following this, your name can only be Chris Angel.
Oh, shit.
Because you're the only person's mind who can take this levels of fuck.
I don't know. I think him and Christopher Nolan.
Well, yeah. Wait, Christopher Nolan, did he do Interstellar too?
Yeah, and Inception. Oh, and you haven't even seen, so he did Interstellar, he did Inception, he did Memento. Have you seen Memento?
No.
Oh my gosh.
But we watched Dunkirk.
Dunkirk is also great, but it's not like a blow
Yeah,
your
it's not
mind.
a-
It's
yeah.
just an actual movie. It is kind of with the time stuff they do in it, because they eventually, all the timelines are separate, then they all mesh together at once, which is awesome. But, no, Memento, so it's a movie that is the timeline, as the movie goes forward, the timeline's going backwards.
Oh, my head already hurts.
Yeah, so it's crazy.
So the movie opens. I don't know the plot. So the movie opens and you already know who the killer is essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
So it opens at the end of the timeline.
And then you travel back to see why said thing happened.
Yeah,
and then,
but everything's moving forward. It's not like you're rewinding a movie and everyone's going.
well, yeah.
Yeah, get it? Because then that wouldn't make sense at all.
It's so time still moves forward, but at the end of the day, it goes to the day before.
Yeah, so if you view it as three separate things with, so the timeline, or just two separate, I guess. The actual time in the movie is moving forward, but the timeline of events is backwards.
Gotcha. And if you play it in reverse, you can hear Satan.
Yeah, that's it.
Welcome to hellfire.
Yeah. So,
Christopher Nolan, a well-known Satan worshiper.
there's also, have you seen The Prestige?
No.
Also mind-blowing. That is a movie about magicians, which Christopher Nolan did.
Well, have you...
With Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman.
I'll do you one better. Have you seen Racing Stripes? The movie about a zebra that becomes a racehorse.
What? No way!
And has two talking shit-eating flies that sit on its ass.
Are they actually? I don't really remember that movie.
What, flies?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two Jamaican flies, and they just talk about how good the shit they eat is. I'm 90% sure they're Jamaican.
Wait, is there okay. Alright, is there... Oh shit, my girlfriend's calling me.
Damn it. Okay. Well, we gotta end it there. We gotta go out on the high note. Go see Racing Stripes, 10 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes. We hope to see his light of day.
It ended.
Great.
We're still ending the podcast.
His girlfriend broke up with him mid-phone call. Tune in next week to see if he's survived the depression.